Once upon a time, in a land ravished with famine, there lived a woodcutter, his wife, and their two children, Hansel and Gretel. The mother had a fantastic idea of how to save the children. What if we just take the children into the forest tomorrow and leave them in order so they can survive alone? But little did she know, the children were listening right behind the door. In today's world, we can have people or obstacles that make us fail in life. In Hansel and Gretel by the Grimm brothers, the children face failure after failure after failure, but they continue to get up and face their life. Today, we need to remember that we need to climb through our life and get up once we fall so we can succeed. Hansel and Gretel by the Grimm brothers. The parents ripped the children into the forest, but little did they know, Hansel was dropping pebble after pebble behind them. The parents took them to the center of the forest, but before they left, they gave them a loaf of bread they had bought with the last bit of money, and they left. The children followed their pebbles until they got home. The parents were completely surprised, but 2 weeks later, they did it again, but they locked the children into the house, knowing how they had succeeded the first time. Next morning, they ripped the children into the forest once again, but Hansel didn't have anything to drop, so he dropped stale breadcrumbs along the way. The parents left again, and the children tried to make their way back home, but they couldn't, because the animals had eaten all the breadcrumbs from the path. The children were terrified. What were they going to do? They ran around the forest, but they didn't know how to get home, so they sat down and cried and slept. When they woke up, they were by a beautiful cabin. Not a normal cabin, but a gingerbread cabin, full of cookies and cakes and sugar. They ran up and started eating in the house, but then an old woman walked down. "Children, I just made some cookies and food. Come inside." The children couldn't believe it. They ran inside. What nice hospitality in a famine. And they ate and ate, and there were 2 child-sized beds that they could sleep in. So they went to sleep. It was peaceful. But Hansel woke up in the middle of the night to see 2 glowing eyes. It was not the old woman, but of an old witch. She grabbed Hansel and ripped him into the barn. She came back in, slapped Gretel in the face, and told her, "You're gonna cook for your brother so I can fatten him up and eat him." Gretel couldn't believe this, and the witch grabbed Gretel and put her in the kitchen to cook. For the next month, she cooked everything for Hansel to fat him up. Cookies, cakes, pancakes. And Hansel got really fat, and it was time to slaughter him. So the witch made Gretel test the oven's heat. "Test the oven's temperature, child." Gretel didn't know how to test the temperature. "Get in the oven and test the temperature." "Can you show me how to test the temperature?" Well, the witch got down like she was testing the oven temperature, about to get in, and then Gretel kicked her in the back and shoved her in the oven and grabbed the oven door and locked her in. There was pushing and pulling between the oven. Then all of a sudden, it was quiet, and the witch was dead. Gretel ran outside, unlocked her brother, came out, and they were safe. But before they left the witch's house, they grabbed jewels that were in the witch's house. They ran home. Ain't nobody got time to stay at that house. So they ran. But they didn't know their way home. But they came to a clearing that they finally recognized. And they ran faster than they'd ever run before. And they saw smoke coming up from the trees. Knowing it was their house, they ran so fast. And then they lived happily ever after again.